Yeah, the other after you telling me about Von Braun, after you telling me about Von Braun, I also wanted, if you have time, I also wanted you to tell me about Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, well that was back when I was a kid.
Hello.
I saw that Bigfoot, and
Good. How are you?
we had 337 acres, out in Maryland. My dad and mom bought all this land, and most of it was woodland. And my dad, after my dad retired, he bought a sawmill. He bought all this land, and that's when you can get land pretty cheap because it's right after World War II. Nobody had any money. Well, my mom and dad, because my mom worked for Treasury and my dad worked for the Navy Department.
Wow.
And they got married late in life, I guess. Later in life, then not in their 20s or early, or even 30s, whatever. So they were working, people worked for the government stuff, and they saved their money up, and they had all this money, so they paid cash for all this land out in Maryland, which was pretty cheap then. And my dad wanted to move out, away from the city. Nothing to do with being around the city, because it's very paranoid about things, which I think probably because he had reason to be, but when I was a kid, probably 6 or 7 or something, I'm looking out the front window of her house, which faced the, going toward the highway, the road, but I mean, we had a long driveway to get in, then we had woods around it. And we had a lawn that he had made around, because he had tractors and stuff and graded it out and had a nice lawn. There was this ape-like critter, walking around the front yard. And I thought, what the hell, is that a bear or what is that? And so I told my dad was home and my mom was up, had me taking my mom. She wasn't retired yet. She didn't retire until 1960 something. So we used to drive her up to the bus stop, and she'd take a bus downtown and back and pick her up. It was just during the day.
Broad daylight.
Broad daylight. And I told my dad, and he says, and I was so excited, and I guess maybe I wasn't really scared, but I said, look, there's this. He said, well, maybe it's a bear or something like that. He says, I'll tell you what, he had just gotten through, he baked he used to bake and stuff, and he had a couple loaves of bread he baked. You know how you can bake bread in the form, and before you slice it, you can take it out of the form? Well, he took and put a cinder block in the front, right in front where I thought I saw the critter, and then a stick, like I guess it was an old rake handle or something, he stuck on the cinder block, in the hole in the cinder block, and then stuck the loaf of bread on top, the whole loaf of bread.
Like bait?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he says, now let's go back in. Now you keep an eye on this bread from inside there, from the picture window. You go keep an eye on this bread, and it smells real good, right? Because you freshly baked bread smells good. He said, this will get that whatever it is to get its attention. And so
definitely get a bear's attention.
Well, nothing showed up for it, but I kept my eyeball on it. But I know that's what I saw at first, and then later on, I guess, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years later, there was that big thing where the guy filmed this Bigfoot critter, then they started discovering these footprints, and they call them Bigfoot. See, back when I was a kid, when I saw this thing, they didn't coin that phrase Bigfoot until
wow.
maybe 5-6 years later.
Okay, so you
I
saw this thing before it was even.
I didn't call it Bigfoot. I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was maybe a bear or something like that, and I didn't, or an ape. I said it looked more like an ape than it did a bear. That's what I told my dad. And
you had seen bears before?
Oh yeah, we were out in the country. Look,
mm-hmm.
I seen not coyotes, but they were, can't think of the name of them, but they're real muscular looking cats. We had foxes, and I think maybe people used to see wolves too, but not so much. But then there were black bears and stuff out there.
So whatever you saw, you already knew what a black bear looked like.
Yeah,
That
as a
was
matter of
not a
fact,
black
as a
bear.
matter of fact, I saw one walking upright on his hind legs one time, and that they will do that. So I know the difference between a black bear walking upright and some sort of ape-like critter. But yeah, no, But my father was funny. He sort of was taking half of it like a joke and half of it like seriously, which is probably
Right.
good.
Yeah.
And but he, it was in the summer. He didn't want me getting all nervous or anything around the house, because he was out taking care of business, with me and my sister and everybody else. So
Wow.
plus he'd make dinner for everybody, and funny guy. He was.
I wonder if he'd seen it before.
It's hard to say. I knew he knew things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we raised geese and stuff like that. We had geese, and every now and then one would disappear. And I said, "What do you think that goose went to?" He says, "Don't worry about it." We had these we had this real poor black family that lived like a couple farms over. So
Yeah.
he knew they were. In fact, we had orange cats, male cats, and we had an orange female cat, and she'd give birth to a litter of cats every year. So every 2 years, every year she'd have an orange male cat. And those things would get huge. And then once they get big enough, they disappear. So my father says, so can we look for that orange cat? So finally, I guess he had enough. He gets in the car and takes us over drives down this lane, and there's this guy comes down and he says, "Hey, you seen an orange cat coming around here?" Of course, that was probably the guy that stole it.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I haven't. He said, okay, well, if you do, you know where I live. I'm next door. So he was kind of telling him, hey, cut it out.
Right. That was his way of
bringing
closure to it or whatever.
No, he was never scared of anybody.
Yeah.
God, maybe he should have been some. Well, he
Fearless.
was paranoid. Yeah, he worked for the government and doing different things, and I heard some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.